but I do like to have audience participation in my talks. It does not bother me if you ask a question at any time, interrupt me at any time and ask a question. I'd rather have you ask it while you remember it than wait and not remember what you were going to ask me later. Also, I will stop, ask a question, and then stare at you awkwardly until someone answers. So, please do pipe up and answer. Okay, so today we're talking about usability. What exactly is usability? Well, Wikipedia talks about ease of use and learnability, stuff like that. What it boils down to is usability is making sure that your product works so that when your customers come to try to use it, they don't leave and then go complain about you on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, they say there's no such thing as bad press. They are wrong. There are a lot of different kinds of bad press, and that's not the kind of press you want to have. You want your customers raving about you and recommending you to their friends, not complaining about you. Okay, so besides complaining on Facebook and Twitter, what's the first thing people are going to do if your site is difficult to use?
Quit.
They're going to quit. They're going to leave. They're not even going to try to call you and ask for help, are they? They are just going to leave. The internet is full of alternate possibilities. No matter how unique you think your business is, users will try to find someone else to use long before they will try to contact you for help. So we don't want that to happen. So where do we start when we discuss usability? Well, the first kinds of things we want to do are figure out, okay, who are your users? Because obviously we can't make it easy for them to use if we don't know who they are. So we need to figure out who they are. What do we want them to do on the website? And what do they want to do on our website? Because those are probably going to be two different things. If we're selling books, the user probably wants to come and do some price comparisons. We want them to come and instantly buy a book. So we want to find out how to make sure they can do what they want to do while we're getting them to do what we want them to do as well. So it's important to identify those kinds of things. How tech savvy are your users? If they're very tech savvy, your website's going to be very different than if they're very untechnical. So you need to sort of find out what level do you need to meet them at. And then it's important to know where are your users going to go if your site doesn't work. What are your competitors doing that's going to work for your customers that you aren't doing? So it's important to keep an eye on what they're doing as well. Once you've made the new design for the website, these are 5 things to take a look at, and they're ranked in order from most important to least important. So we have learnability, which is when they get to the website, how much do they have to learn before they can start interacting with the site or accomplishing what they need to accomplish? Do they need to learn your menu structure? Do they need to learn which forms they have to use before they can start using your website? What do they have to learn? How fast can they get it done? Efficiency. Nobody likes to spend a lot of time on the internet anymore. Well, we like to spend a lot of time, but not on any one task on the internet. So the internet has made people very, very impatient. So we need to make sure that whatever we want them to do, we make sure they can get it done very quickly. The longer it takes, the more likely it is that they are going to drop out of the process and quit. Memorability. After they've learned to use our website, if they don't come back for 2 months, are they going to have to relearn everything again? Or is it easy to remember those steps once you know what they are? Do things change on your site frequently enough that if somebody's gone for 2 months, they are going to have to relearn where everything is? We want to make sure that they don't have to remember things like that. People don't like to remember things. They like it to be super easy and intuitive. So how easy is it going to be for them to come back after a period of time and still be able to use your site? Number 4 is errors. When a user encounters an error, are they able to fix it? Can they get past it on their own, or do they have to contact you for help? If they have to contact you for help to get past an error, chances are they're just leaving and not coming back. So we want to make sure the users are empowered to get past the errors themselves and that they never feel like they can't get past an error. And then last but not least is satisfaction. I suppose it is least in this list, but it is still important, is that the site is pleasing to use. But your site looking nice is actually the least important of these 5 things. A user will be much happier with an ugly site that's easy for them to use than a really beautiful site that they can't use, which is really hard to convince most marketing teams because everybody wants a beautiful website, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Okay? So some common problems to avoid. This is where we're getting into the Beth's pet peeves on the internet section of the talk. So know your user, and you are not that user. Even if you are a customer of your company that you work for, you are not a user because you have inside knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes. You have inside knowledge of how websites work. So you are not the user. You need to find someone who does not work for the company and is not married to someone who works for the company. I have a lot of people who say, well, we got so-and-so's husband or so-and-so's wife to test it out. They don't work for us. It's like, no, but they listen to the insider talk all the time. They've met all of you. They understand the other side of the business, so they are no longer a user. They have a tainted point of view. It's not necessarily a bad point of view. You can still get valuable feedback from them, but they are not your user, so it should not be the end-all of the feedback that you receive. Never overwhelm the user. If you go to a website and there's 600 buttons on the home page, everybody's just going to freak out and leave because nobody wants to read through that many options. It should be very clear, like, oh, I can go here or here, or I want to do this, it's right there. So you want to make it really easy. We don't want to overwhelm them with options. Consistency is very important. The more consistent it is, the easier it is for someone to learn. Once you've taught them that something works a certain way, they're going to expect it to work that way forever on your website. And the more you change things or the more you're inconsistent between sections of your website, the harder it is and the more memory people have to spend using your site. And that goes along with, we don't want them to have to remember a lot to use our website. So my first pet peeve, typing practice. How many people like to practice typing? Exactly. None of us do. Okay, so we have a simple form here. This is just a hacked together example form. It's not a really good form, but it will do for our purposes. So, I'm a user. I come to your website here. Let's say I'm ordering a book, so I need to get into my account here and create an account so I can order a book from you. I am really careful. I type everything in super carefully because, you know, I really want to buy this book. Okay, so what do you notice here? It's what?
It's a big password.
Well, I'm a good user, right? Everybody has long passwords like that. Okay, but everything looks good, right? I should be able to create my account? Okay. Now the color's not coming through here. I do have your passwords don't match in red. So I'll have to see how this goes with red not showing up. But at least you can read it. So, okay, so my passwords didn't match. That is something that no user can ever tell because we put it in asterisks, which is fine. That's good. But it means that the passwords not matching is a common error for users, even users who are trying really hard to do a good job filling out the form will run into. Okay, what else do you notice about this form? They wiped it out. Was the rest of the data bad? No. Okay? Don't ever delete good data. If a user has spent time typing it in and it's not wrong, don't delete it. I know it's easier for us as programmers to not worry about refilling the fields. And some places claim it's a security risk to repopulate the fields. If it's not sensitive data, please refill the fields. Your users will thank you. Okay, so I've gone through now and I've retyped everything in, and I typed my passwords so slowly and carefully. Okay, I check, I've got everything filled in. I'm going to click sign me up. What's going to happen? I didn't pick a state. Okay. And again, I looked at everything, and everything looks filled in if you're just looking to see if it has data in it. So drop-downs that tell you to select something from them are oftentimes hard for users because it looks filled in when it's not. Okay? Okay, oh, please choose a state. So I'm going to go right over here. I'm going to pick my state, go down to sign me up, and now it's going to happen.
Passwords.
I forgot the passwords again, but I had typed those in, right? Okay, it's fine to clear out the password field, but if you do, tell the user so they know. And tell them what the error message that they're trying to fix. Don't hide it from them because the last thing you want a user to do is think they're stuck in a loop of errors and they can never ever get out. Okay, because they're just going to go and leave. And that's not what we want. Okay, so you could do something like this. Please choose a state. For security reasons, please re-enter your passwords. Okay? We added just a little bit there just to let them know. And now they know they have 2 things they need to fix before they click sign me up. You can even, and this is kind of a bad example because you can't see the red color, but what you can do is, here's the password and the confirm password. I've highlighted those boxes in red. And the state box over there, also highlighted in red. And then bolded. You can kind of see they're bolded a little bit. Because we do want to be careful of colorblind users. So we don't want color to be the only thing that tells them what's happening. So we have the words written at the top, we've bolded the boxes they need to deal with, and we've turned them red. So every user on your website is probably going to make a mistake at some point. We want to make sure they don't ever feel stuck with that error or feel like every time they click submit they get a new error and something else that they did is undone. And we don't want them to feel like they take one step forward and 2 steps back. That really frustrates users. We want to make sure that they feel like they can solve the problem and continue moving forward. Okay, so here's my next pet peeve. So we're going to come over here. I filled everything out very carefully. What am I going to click on? Clear form, okay? Now the clear form button is something that only web developers understand. Okay? Users have no idea why there would be a button that gets rid of everything they just typed in. Okay? So, my first suggestion is don't have a clear form button. But if you do need to have one, don't put it someplace where it looks like the submit button. Okay? And next up, so I've clicked clear form. So now as a user, I'm thinking, did it submit? Am I done? Okay, but let's say I take a close look and I see, oh, I clicked clear form. Okay, so I'm going to fill it out again. Oh, I forgot the state again. Okay, now what am I going to click? Now I'm going to click clear form because you've taught me that clear form is on the right and the submit button is on the left. Okay, because somebody else did this version of the form. Okay, or we swapped the buttons on one but forgot to swap them somewhere else. Okay, this is where consistency comes in. If you're teaching me to click the button on the left, then the button on the left needs to always be the button I'm supposed to click on. Okay, so in this case, switching the buttons around can be very, very difficult because users do not read. So they don't want to have to read the buttons. They're just going to see a square and click on it. Okay? And so we want to be very consistent about where we are putting them. So if you do have to have a clear form button, feel free to put it way, way on the left. Now at least in English-speaking countries, we read from right to left. So left feels backwards and right feels forward naturally to people. So by putting clear form on the left, just that placement will signify to people this takes you backwards in the process. And having submit or sign me up on the right takes you forward in the process. You can even add some pictures or some colors to help you. Again, the colors are not coming through very well. That's actually a green arrow over there moving forward and a red arrow here moving back. Okay, so red for stop, you're going backwards. Green for go forward. Can be very helpful. But again, like I said, we never want to rely just on color. So the arrows pointing backwards and forwards also really help people who are not going to read the buttons. Okay, expectations of our users are an important thing to know. What do they expect when they do something? Okay, 99% of the time, if you click a link on a website, what does it do?
Takes you to the
Takes you
website.
to a new page. I'm sorry, what did you say?
That.
That. Okay, great. Yes, it takes you to a new page. Sometimes on a different website, but most often on the same website because we don't want to lose our web traffic, right? We want to keep them on our website. So most of the time, links will take you to another page on the website. But these links don't do that. Okay, maybe the first one takes you to somebody else's website to read about an article about the day in the life of. The biography of Neil Armstrong, that takes you to Amazon so you can buy the book. This is our referral link, so we can get credit. Early photos of astronaut training is going to pop up a slideshow. And Buzz Aldrin, in his own words, is a PDF that's going to open. Now, we've not told the user any of that. Now, we like to think our users are very intelligent, but a lot of users, when bounced to Amazon to buy a book, will not know how to get back to your website. Some of them will not even notice that they're on a different website. They'll think that somehow you're selling Amazon stuff through yours. I know that sounds crazy, but believe me, there are people out there that think this. So we want to tell them if we're sending them somewhere else, okay? Early photos of astronaut training. If this, let's say we're doing a Lightbox slideshow, the screen darkens when they click on it. And if the slideshow takes a while to load because that first picture is gigantic because the marketing team didn't resize it before they uploaded it into the CMS, it could take a while for that picture to show up. So all they know is they clicked on a link and their screen darkened. That's not a good thing for a user who has no idea what's going on. Buzz Aldrin, in his own words, is a PDF. Now, a lot of people will open a PDF natively in their browser. It will just open and everything's fine. But for people who do not have that capability, anyone know what the pop-up says?
This could harm your computer.
Yeah, it'll say this can harm your computer. It will say this website is trying to download something onto your computer. Do you want to allow this, or do you want to continue? What have we taught people it is when a website tries to download something onto your computer? It's a virus. It is obviously bad, right? Okay, now this PDF is not bad. It's not a virus. We're a nice website, but we've just shown our users something that we've taught them means they're getting a virus from us. So we want to make sure that if we tell them this is a PDF, at least give them some sort of clue that this is not a normal website. You're going to have to open it in a different program. We never want to scare them. Surprises are scary for our users or confusing, and we don't want our users to be either confused or scared. And we don't have to do anything too crazy. We can just say, okay, day in the life of an astronaut goes to that other article page. That's fine. Buy the biography of Neil Armstrong on Amazon. It's a simple thing, but gives them a little hint about where they're going. Early photos of astronaut training, and we just put slideshow at the end. So when the screen darkens, oh, the slideshow is loading because they know it's a slideshow. And here we just put PDF at the end. That's not going to solve it for all users because some people don't know what PDFs are, but for the vast majority of people, PDFs are pretty common. That at least gives them some hint that something else is going to happen. Okay, users, again, don't read. So they're going to come to your website here. They're going to see, welcome friend, create an account, great products, check them out, great products, check them out, newsletter, sign me up, great products, sign up today. Okay? Totally unhelpful. Also, small side note, pet peeve. If you walk into a store and someone comes up to you and says, welcome friend, what are you going to do?
Not my friend.
You're not my friend. Get away, right? Back up a little, perhaps leave the store. Don't say welcome friend. If you don't know their name, just say welcome. Don't say welcome friend. Make sure your buttons and your bold text is very helpful for them. Lets them know exactly where they need to go and exactly what will happen when they click on those buttons. Because all this beautiful marketing text, nobody's going to read it. Okay? So we want to make sure that if they just scan the bolded words, things in color, big buttons, that they can understand how to use the website. You can give them detailed instructions in those paragraphs, but they need to be able to see everything quickly and try to get through. So here you can see we've cleaned it up just a little bit. We've gotten rid of friend, which saved us some space. We have create an account now instead of sign up. So we're telling them you're creating an account. That gives them a little bit more information about what signing up entails. Because signing up could mean a lot of different things. Here we have learn more about our products. But instead of just saying, read great products, we say read reviews and view catalog PDF. So again, we're telling them it's a PDF, and we're telling them that these two buttons do different things. On the last slide, they said exactly the same thing, but went different places. And then over here, we have a newsletter and a catalog of products, and we have signed up today. So what we've done is we've consolidated the things they can sign up for into one thing. Because if they're signing up for different things, but it's the same sort of thing to sign up for, put it into one place so they know all their sign up options in one spot. Don't make them find sign up buttons all over the place. So still not the most beautiful website, but we've cleaned it up and made it a little bit easier to scan. The same thing happens in text. So if you have a paragraph of text like this with some links in it, they are only going to read the links. So we have sign up this site, click here. That says nothing, and they're gone, onto something else. So we want to make sure that even if they're just reading the links, that they're able to find out what they need to find out to make a decision about whether or not they want to click on that. Also, for accessibility purposes, if someone's using a screen reader and it's going to read them just the links, they won't even get the paragraph of text around it. They're just going to get the links. So you want to make sure those links are very clear for them. And it doesn't have to be anything really big or explanatory. We just, again, create an account, sign up for our great newsletter, read product reviews, browse our products. Simple things. Now this slide is going to be less impressive since the color red is not coming through. Every single link on this page is a different color, which a lot of people like because, well, a lot of people creating websites like to do because everybody gets their own color. So your department's links are this color, your department gets this color. And we think what it does is it helps people identify which department they're interacting with in our company. Users do not care what department in your company they're interacting with. What users want to know is, what color do I click on? And if it's every color, then it's no color. So what we want to tell people is, this is the color you can click on. Our buttons are blue, our links are blue, or if your buttons are red and your links are red, stick with that color, be consistent. So everything that looks the same should act the same. Things that look differently should act differently. So if you have links in 2 different colors, it should be because they do 2 different things. If they don't do 2 different things, if they're both just links you should click on, then make them the same color. Another one is we want to make sure that your users are being spoken to in the language they understand. Now, as someone who deals with the business every day, we've come up with shorthand for what we talk about. We have internal ways of dealing with language based on how we handle the data when it comes in. That means nothing to the user, which is why it's important to get someone from completely outside the company when you're testing usability, because you have your own internal language whether you realize it or not. So here we have a pizza ordering form. Right now, we need to choose pizza size and we need to choose pizza crust. Okay? How do we know which one we want?
With size, it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious, but with the crust, you have to be a regular customer and have tried all 3.
Right. You'd have to have inside knowledge about what these mean to make this decision, and that's what we want to avoid. Even pizza size can be a little ambiguous. Is it really thick crust or is it thin crust? So if we're dealing with pizza size, that can make a big difference. What might help in deciding pizza size? If you call the pizza company and they say, do you want a 12-inch, 18-inch, or 24-inch? What are you going to ask?
Number of people it feeds.
Yeah, how many people does it feed? That's really what the user wants to know. The user doesn't really care how many inches big the pizza is. They want to make sure everyone is fed. That's the user's goal, is to feed people. Now, you making the pizza, you need to know how big the pizza needs to be. But the user doesn't. And so giving the user the information they want is very important. Again, the pizza crust, like he was saying. Sure, as the person who works at the company, you already know what those pizza crusts are, and you just need to know the names so you know which one to make. But as a customer coming in, we don't know what those crusts mean, and we need to know that before we can make that decision. So what we can do is just add a quick little feeds how many people. And over here we can add just a little line explaining briefly what the crust is. You could have another page somewhere. You could even make that a link to another page that has a beautiful long description about the crust and how it was developed and the history and everything. But here we just give them a little bit of information so that they don't have to leave our order form to get the information they need to make this decision. We never want to give them a reason to leave our order form until they've got their receipt. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of problems and a lot of things we want to test for, but how do we test? Well, the first thing you want to do is create sort of a script or a program, a script or a list of common things that your users need to do on your website. What are the most common things they need to do? What are the most common things you want them to do when they come to the website? Then we want to identify what means they have completed this task. So if the task is ordering pizza, perhaps receiving a receipt is the confirmation that they have completed this task. If we want them to create a user account, perhaps they get to the screen that says, thank you for completing this user account. So you want to have tangible success criteria. So we don't want it to be like, well, they enjoyed our website. Because enjoyed your website is something we can't quantifiably measure. We can't tell if they actually accomplished that or not. So what we want to do is have tangible things that we can test. Are you asking a question?
Yeah, question.
Sure.
If you go back to your last slide about the pizza form.
Yep.
Like, for example, if you want to give more information on the pizza crust, how would you feel about, like, in terms of usability, having like a pop-up that would take them away from the form, but kind of is augmented?
Sure. I'm okay with it if you put a little note that says opens in a new window, or somehow signify to them that when they click on that, it's going to open a pop-up. Sometimes pop-ups are blocked by pop-up blockers, Sometimes they pop behind the window. Sometimes people's browser settings force those to open up in a new tab and it doesn't always refocus on that tab. So sometimes they click and nothing happens. So giving them a little information about the fact that you are going to do that can be really helpful. Another thing is that depending on how tightly of control you have over that pop-up as far as what size it is, it can be too small for people to read what's going on in it and they just think it's weird, or it gets too big and they can't figure out how to get back to the order form because they don't realize that the new window is on top of the old window. So I would actually recommend either telling them that it's going to open in a new window and that way they can get back to this one, or giving them, if they really need more information about this, giving them a learn more link and then having a way on that new page that you're sending them to get back to the order form. You were going to say something?
Yeah, well, and just with the idea of the pop-up, and what I was thinking he was saying at first was a hover pop-up.
Yeah,
You hover and
that dialogue.
The problem with that is, in today's day and age, you have to think about mobile.
Right.
You can't hover on a mobile screen. Well, some of them are starting to come with styluses that you can hover over, but for the vast majority, you can't hover on a mobile screen.
Well, I was
So
thinking
if
when
you're
you
gonna
click
do
and
that,
it pops up, you know, kind of like if you look at the ski PHP site, like
Oh, right.
it pops up, like a
Sure.
jQuery little. But with mobile, you have to make sure that.
you have to consider that just because your screens are going to be smaller and that kind of always, when it comes to usability, you have to think about mobile as you're looking at these.
And with the jQuery pop-ups, what often happens is they pop up and they're ever so slightly wider than the screen. And now the user can't get to the button, especially if it's a responsive site, so it resizes every time you try to pinch and swipe. So you try to move over to get to that button and the window resizes and bumps that off. And you can't get back to the website.
I think good testing.
Yeah, you need very, very good testing.
And I think in this example, you're not dealing with a ton of information. So it's going to be quicker for the user to just make that comparison
Right.
rather than have to click on each one and read a little tiny,
I'm always
you know,
annoyed by
3
that.
or 4 word.
Well, I was thinking like you'd have that there, but then like have like more info. You click on it, and then maybe has a picture of what that crust looks like.
Sure.
Entices them to pick Joe's specialty, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What you could do then, what I would recommend doing is you can put extra text in those little tooltips that pop up when you hover and just say, like hover for more, or mouse here for more information, or have a small picture that then opens up into a bigger picture, or some sort of way for them to know that you're giving them something that's popping up over the top.
I think with mobile versus the desktop, you have a mobile website for that.
Yeah.
And you know what that user is going to do, and then you know what a user for desktop is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's more work, but it's
Right.
better usability.
Yeah, you can also use sort of like the accordion folding with CSS, where, okay, you've got this little thing, but if you click on it, it expands into a giant thing of text, and then it can collapse up again. And that way, they're not leaving the page, and they don't have to see all that data and scroll through it if they don't want to, but it's there if they need it. So you just want to make sure it doesn't slow down the loading of the page since they can't see it's there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so we were to identifying success criteria. So once you know what they have to do and what they actually tangibly have to accomplish to succeed at that test, then you want to find users, again, outside your company, not related to people at your company, actual people who are really your customers or in your target audience, and have them sit down and go through this. Now what you're going to want to do is, you don't want to influence how they do things. So you want to make sure you can put them, say, in a separate room where they can have the script and just go through it by themselves. And the script shouldn't say, click on this button and fill out this form. It should say, create an account. And then either have video or a one-way mirror or somehow so you can watch them without them seeing someone sitting next to them. Because no matter how objective you try to be, when you tell them, okay, create an account, you are going to look up and look at that create account button. And people are really, really good at picking up those subtle clues from other people on where they should look and what they should click on. So you really need to make sure that no one is in there influencing the test. We want to make sure that they're sitting down individually, because if they're in a group, that changes how they use the website. It changes which questions they ask. It changes how visibly frustrated they're going to get, because there's other people watching. And so what you want to make sure you do is have them sit down individually, because most of the time when someone's using your website, they are going to be at home or at work by themselves. They're not using your website in a group. So you want to sort of replicate that environment for them and see how this is going to work for them. What kinds of things should you test? If you are doing a redesign of your website, you need to test your old website first. Even if you are changing everything and nothing will be the same and your old website is terrible, your users have learned how to use your old website. And what you want to find out is what frustrates them about that old website and what do they already know how to do really easily on your old website. Now that doesn't mean you can't change those things that they easily know how to do. What it means is you might need to give them some extra instructions when you make the change to let them know where things have moved to. So testing the old design. You want to test your competitors' websites. Because again, we want to find out what they are doing well. Because if your customer leaves your website, we don't want your competitor's website to work better for them. So make sure you test your competitor's website. Also, if people are leaving your competitor's website because something didn't work for them there, we don't want the same thing to happen to them on your website. We want your website to solve that problem for them. Sites that are popular with your users. Okay, love or hate Facebook, but Facebook is teaching your users how to use the internet. So you need to know if your users are being on Facebook, they're going to expect things to work in a certain way. As much as we hate that, that's true. So find out which websites are popular with your users and see what those websites have taught your users about how to use websites. And of course, the proposed new site, you want to test that as well. Now, when you test and then you make some changes, then you have to test again. Never assume that the change you made actually solves the user's problem. With users, let's say they're having trouble creating an account. Okay, so you move the account button over to where everyone is looking. That doesn't mean we've made it easier for them to create an account. Perhaps the problem was the wording on the button or the color of the button, not necessarily the placement of the button. So whenever you make a change, test again. Additionally, every change you make can introduce new problems. So we want to make sure that whatever change you've made has actually made an improvement and not just changed the problem to something else. So every step of the way, retest. And above all else, keep things simple. Users don't like to waste time. They don't like to waste keystrokes. They don't like to practice typing. They don't like to have to read everything to figure out what's going on. They want to come in, do their thing, and get out. Okay, now we're going to go into some real-world examples. These are all websites that I have collected within the last year. So these are all modern websites. I did not go to the Wayback Machine to find terrible websites. Okay. Here's the Ohio Academy of Science. They have recently made some changes to their site. I like to think it's because of my presentation, but they have recently made some improvements to their site. But as of a couple months ago, this was their website. Okay, so what is this website? No, way too much color for Craigslist.
Retro?
It's very retro. What do they do?
Clip art.
Clip art? No, they don't do clip art, but they use it a
Do
lot.
they have any animated
They have a store.
They have a store. They sell something.
They're assigned to this, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Down here on the bottom, you can join something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join, yeah. Where is their main navigation?
Top there, I guess.
It's kind of at the top. There's some of it's over here.
Some of it's missing. Can't see it. Yeah.
What is this white sidebar over here?
Ads?
Nope, main navigation.
Oh.
Oh, don't make your navigation look like ads.
That's
All
where
right.
ads go, right?
Yeah, if it's an ad, make it look like an ad. If it's not, don't make it look like an ad. This is actually part of their main navigation. These are their featured stories that they really want you to pay attention to. And down here, this lower corner, this tiny microscopic print tells you what is the Academy. So it's a membership society for scientists. Okay, so what color are links? I know it's kind of tough with the red dots not coming through, but what color are links?
Well, sometimes blue.
Sometimes blue.
Some white.
There's some are white, some are yellow, some are red, some are multiple colors. Over here we've got yellow and blue, or this is actually red and yellow, which is really fun to read. Okay. Yeah. The other thing too is if you're going to put a date up there, make sure you take it off after it passes. This was about, I think I got this one in March of 2013, so it was about 4 or 5 months after the deadline. Okay, so what's the first thing you should do on this website? Right, that's not the reaction we want from our users, right? Okay. So they don't even have a clear path of what you should do first. It's all scattered and there's just too much information. It's very overwhelming. There's no consistency. It's really difficult to use this website. Okay, here's another page on the same site. Okay, so you can see they've made some improvements to the design. So this is, or actually this was the new version of the homepage. Okay, so what do you notice that they've changed?
It's under construction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a more, at least from back here, it looks like a more pronounced.
There is a more pronounced menu. They have put a link to pretty much every page on their site in that block on there. Or, but still here, and still here and here.
They use front page.
They're probably using front page.
That's actually, it isn't what it looks like.
Yeah. So they've tried to make some improvements. They've tried, you can see they've probably been getting complaints that it's too hard to find things on the site. And they've answered that problem by putting a giant block of buttons up here so you can find everything, right? But what they're not getting is that it's not because people can't read that they can't find things. It's because it's too confusing. There's too many colors. Navigation is in too many different places. And putting a giant block of text up there for them to read through and try to find which button they want is also not going to help. Okay, here's another one.
No.
Yes. Okay, everyone's seen it? Okay. I took a flat screenshot to stop the blinking. Well, you have to look at it. But the blinking doesn't actually stop on the real website. Okay, so what does this company do?
Don't want to know.
Water equipment.
Water something, yep, water equipment. Okay, so
They do design.
are you looking at the,
This is a design and
by Techno Geek at Bite Me Web Designs? Yeah, classy, right?
The design consultancy business.
Yeah.
Is reading the yellow text.
Oh, the yellow text, yeah. So WET is a consultancy business. They handle water management for big facilities like sports facilities and things like that. So you guys were very close. We got the water thing at least, right? Okay. How about the text? Easy to read? No. It's really hard to read a big block of text if it keeps disappearing. Right?
Go back.
Well, not just
Go
that, the
back.
background. The background has so much dark going through the text and everything.
Wow,
yeah.
It's just like, it's hard to read even when it is there.
Right, even when it is there, the contrast is really low. So yeah, they really are blinking all the content, the main content on their homepage. Which,
Creators website.
right. So it's very difficult. And the contrast, the background is way too prominent and you can't read it. Okay, what color are links? There's blue buttons, okay? So the blue buttons are links. But the blue text over here is not links. This text here is red and those are links. And down here this is red and these are links. Okay, so we've got a mixture of red and blue. Yeah, Australia. How about this one? When we're talking about expectations, this button says download. Who's going to click on it?
Nobody.
That's exactly the question. I personally didn't click on it because I didn't want to know what I was going to download when I clicked on this website. But someone in one of my previous talks clicked on it, and it actually takes you to another website where you can then click a link to download a PDF of their catalog. So, yeah, there you go. Download.
This is great.
Yeah. The other thing here too is if you look at these buttons, the button text is kind of small. There are a lot of buttons. It's hard to read through. And a lot of the words on these buttons are abbreviated. Now that may be great for your internal use because you are used to calling things a certain way inside your business, but your customers may not abbreviate them the same way. So don't use abbreviations unless you're absolutely positive your users are going to know what that means. All right. Okay, so now for the next slide, I'd like you to pretend that you don't know what this website is. You've never heard of it before. We are looking at something brand new. Okay? What does this website do?
Apps.
Apps.
Social.
It's social. Okay, now, if you are not a web developer, what is an app?
A game.
It's a game. It's a game. Where do you put an app?
On your
On your phone. So this website is going to give me games for my phone, right? Kind of, but not really, right? That's not their main purpose. That's what most people use it for, but it's not the main purpose. Okay. What else do you notice about this website?
You can sign up for
You can sign up for something.
for login.
There's a login.
There's like Chinese tax. Images.
Okay. Where is the login?
Right.
Top right. Now, a lot of websites put the login in the top right. Why do we do that?
Right is right to left, right? Or backwards area?
Right.
Studies have actually been done that show that that's where you naturally go. It's funny because the studies, like if you look at, I forget what you call them, hot maps or
Oh, the heat maps?
heat maps, yeah.
Mhm. Heat
If you
maps,
look
for
at
anyone who
them-
doesn't know, is it tracks where your eyes are looking, and the longer you look at something, the more red it turns. And so it kind of tracks what you look at the most and what you don't look at.
Right. So the place, the area of the screen that you see, that at least most heat maps I've seen, at first glance is the hottest is the top right.
Mhm.
The coldest, bottom left.
Yep,
Where's the start button on Windows?
bottom left.
Which
Which is why no one can find it. Right, so there's a lot of different philosophies on why that happens. Some people say that everybody looks to the top right because that's where everyone puts the login on, or everyone puts the login information. So that's automatically where you look. Other people say that it's because you read the logo, and you immediately go to the right corner there. So you're starting on the left and reading to the right across the top. Other people think it's because normally when you would get a letter in the mail, for back in the days when we used to get letters in the mail, it would say, you know, dear so-and-so, but who it was from, their address and everything would be in that top corner. So there's a lot of different reasons about why we think it's over there. I personally think that everybody looks over there for the login because somebody started it and we all just keep doing it, and that's where everybody looks now. So whether or not it's good or bad, that's where everyone expects it to be. So that's a good place to put it. Okay, what else do you notice about this?
I don't know what I'm signing up for.
Yeah, we don't know what we're signing up for, but it's free. That's good, right?
And always will be.
And always will be. So whatever it is you're getting, at least you won't be paying for it monetarily.
How do you find free?
Right, right. What do you notice about the sign-up form, though? I don't know if you can read the fields here, they're kind of small. It's first name, last name, email, re-enter email, new password, IN, birthday. Okay, so kind of not your standard sign-up form. But what we have here is birthday. Normally, websites don't ask for your birthday when you create an account. Okay, that's more personal information, not something you normally want to give out. But right here, it says, why do I need to provide my birthday? So they're sort of giving you access to that information right there where you have to make the decision about giving them your birthday. What about 2 emails versus 1 password?
You don't care about your password as much as you care about your email.
It's possible. What happens if you forget your email? Well, let's start with password. What happens if you forget your password? They email you a new one. Oh, okay, I've got 2 minutes. We'll do this really fast. Okay, so what they're doing is, if you forget your email address, you have to call Facebook or something and try to find out, because you can't log in if you don't remember which email address you used. Okay, super quick. What is this website?
A dating website.
It's a dating website. Again, kind of, but not really, right? Okay, so be very careful about, you know, what imagery you're using and how you're placing things on the site. Because, sure, it's a nice picture, but it doesn't really say anything about your business. Okay.
That's really one of their.
Yeah. Yeah, if you kind of click refresh, you'll get a bunch of different ones.
Like I do a talk here yesterday.
Possibly. No, that's not Jeremy. Okay, how about this one? What does this website do?
Email.
Email?
Email.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so they've told us a little bit about what they do. They've given us some reasons why they're better at email than other people. What do you notice about the login? Where's the login? It's under create account. So they've put create account in the upper right, and they've put sign up in the main body of the page. Why do you think they've done that?
Most of the users coming here are already customers.
Right. How many times does the average person sign up for a Gmail account? Once. How many times do they sign in?
Many.
Right. So billions of times. So what they've done is they've taken the thing you do the most and they've made it very prominent on the page. Now, the create an account button up there in the corner, they still want to highlight that so you can see they've made it red, which is an attention-grabbing color, but still part of their standard color scheme. What color are links? Blue, except for that create account button. So because that create account button is in a non-standard spot and they need to call attention to it, they've made it a non-standard color that's a little bit more bold than their standard link color. Okay. One last pet peeve about websites here, down here, this drop-down box. If you are not a web developer, what are you going to do with that drop-down box? Well, you're either going to ignore it or you're going to click in it to see what you can choose, right? See what's in there. What happens if you're looking through it and you move your mouse out of it?
Switch the language.
It's going to switch languages. And that drop-down box moves based on which language you choose, because in other countries, drop-down boxes should be in other places. So what happens to a lot of people is they go in there, they choose Mandarin by accident, because they don't realize that when they leave a select box, it's going to do something, because they didn't click a button, right? And then that drop-down box moves, they can't read any of the characters, and not all users are intuitive enough to understand, I need to find another drop-down box, and that's probably the same thing, and I can get back to English. Okay, so don't surprise users. Okay, and then Amazon here. Amazon has a lot of stuff here. They have standard menu across the top though, and they have products. They've got some highlighted stuff. Tell you what other customers are looking at. So it's kind of overwhelming, but they've left a lot of white space between everything, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. I'm sorry, I'm running way over, so I'm going to go through these really fast. Okay, so recap. Don't delete good information. Make sure your users know what they have to do to keep going. Keep your buttons consistent, make the path obvious, make the content scannable, pick a color and stick with it. Everything that does something one way should do it the same way everywhere else, and make sure you're using the user's language. The slide is for you to read at home. These are usability guidelines from 1997. Usability doesn't change very much. Okay, so if you invest in usability now, it's going to be good for a long time. Technology changes, but users don't change as fast. So investing some money in usability can be very helpful. Okay, I have some sites you can check out, books to check out. Here's how you can find me. I have the slides up on treelinedesign.com/slides, and I will post the link on Joined In as well. Don't forget to talk to me about free issues. We're also doing a Kickstarter for the PHP Elephant. It's orange, which doesn't look like it on the screen, but it is orange. And you can always email me at beth@musketeers.me. Sorry that ran a little quick at the end there, but thank you so much for getting up early and coming out to my talk. I will be around all day today, so feel free to stop by and talk to me. And let me know if you have any feedback on the talks.